Welcome to the Write, Publish, Market podcast. If you're a business owner thinking a book would be a great marketing asset for your business, you're in the right place. Maybe you've already committed, even better. I'm your host, Jodi Brandon, book publishing strategist and partner for business owners, CEOs, and entrepreneurs, and 20-plus year veteran of the book publishing industry. On the Write, Publish, Market podcast, in addition to learning from me and other industry experts, you'll hear from other business owners about their experiences as we explore all facets of writing, publishing, and marketing a book that will help your business grow in ways you might not even be dreaming of yet. I'm so glad you're here. Let's dive in. Hello, business owners. Today I would like to talk to you about overthinking your book project, which I can almost guarantee you are doing. I talk to a lot of business owners every day in, day out. Almost every single one is overthinking their book project. Having been in the seat of the business owner writing a book, I was also overthinking my book project. So this is not a you problem. This is a big project that needs a lot of attention and time and effort to bring to fruition problem. So let's break it down a little bit so that we can reduce some of that overwhelm and get you moving forward, gain some momentum, get your book finished. A book cannot serve your business and be used as a marketing asset if it's just an idea in your head or words on a computer screen. So we've got to get it to the other side, a published book available for people to buy, read, implement, etc. So let me start with a couple of caveats. Yes, there are a lot of moving pieces to a book publishing project. I will not pretend that there are not. Yes, you need a plan. A plan will make things way easier. I'm going to link in the show notes a recent episode that we did, episode 205. 3 things that you can be doing now to prepare yourself to write a book. The point of that episode was in the new year, and it was released in the fall. But you can use this any time of year. It does not have to be, in the new year. These are just 3 general things that you can do to sort of, prepare yourself to be ready to write a book, logistically, physically, mentally, all the things. So I do not pretend that there are not a lot of moving pieces. And I know that the book publishing world is not your world. It is not your zone of genius. But that's the beauty of hiring a team of people for whom this is their zone of genius. This is the industry that they work in. This is the industry that they understand. They speak the language, etc. So your book team is going to look different from a colleague's book team. Everybody needs different expertise for their own book project. So keep that in mind also. A plan will help you. And I'm not saying that you need, a plan fleshed out to the point where you know exactly what you're doing every minute that you have allotted to book time. But you do need more than, a 60-minute block on your calendar that says book time or book writing. I think a lot about when I first moved into the online business space a little bit, and content creation was something that was just sucking up so much of my time because I had never had to do it before. And it was new to me. I didn't really understand it. And it was just such a time suck to my every single day that I was in my office. And I realized that, when I finally realized I was out of my zone of genius and to hire a strategist, one of the first things we did was look at my content creation process. And I had on my calendar content creation 2 or 3 times a week for an hour or 90 minutes at a time. Well, of course, that was not the smartest way to go about it. What really made more sense was when I broke down, I figured out how much content I wanted to produce and then sort of figured out, okay, in this 60-minute block, here's what I want to work on. I want to create, 1 Instagram carousel, 2 LinkedIn posts, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Whatever the case may be, whatever I can get done in that amount of time. And I figured out how much I could get done in that amount of time by, time tracking for a few months to kind of give myself an idea. So it's the same kind of concept here. You want to figure out what can you produce, how many words can you produce in a writing session, and then that'll give you an idea of how much time you're looking at to draft your book. Are you looking at 2 months? Are you looking at 6 months? Are you looking at 8 months? A lot of that's going to also depend on your capacity, which is one of those 3 things that I talk about in episode 205. as you're setting a realistic plan and calendar is looking at what your capacity really is, what's already on your calendar, all of those sorts of things. So all of these things sort of work together as you're creating your book plan. And I always say that, the title of this podcast, the title of my book, Write, Publish, Market, those are the three big pieces for a book project. But within each of those pieces, there are lots and lots of layers and subtasks and sub-projects and all of the things. So a plan will help you stay on track, keep moving forward, find those pockets of time that you've probably heard me talk about, where the book is with your copy editor, you can start, drafting some launch emails, something like that. You can use these pockets of time to keep your project moving forward. But having that plan will prevent a lot of the overwhelm that leads to the overthinking that I see and hear about all the time.
Hey there, business owner and aspiring or published author. Sorry to interrupt this episode. Just wanted to check in and see if you're subscribed to Coffee and Commas, my email newsletter, where I share behind the scenes, industry info, and much more about writing, publishing, and marketing a book for your business. Sign up at bit.ly/coffee and commas sign up. That's all lowercase. Now back to the show.
So here's what I would encourage you to do as you're creating this plan. First, go listen to episode 205 after this episode. That will give you those 3 concrete steps. But you really want to then do the foundational work, right? The book building blocks. Who, what, and why. Who are you writing this book for? What is the topic of your book? What is the area that you're known for? Is it going to be a deep dive into one aspect of that, or is it going to be more of an overview of your process? Think about my book, Write, Publish, Market. That could have been 3 separate deep dive books, right? A book on writing for business owners, a book on publishing for business owners, a book on marketing for business owners. But instead, the way my book fits into my business ecosystem, it makes sense for it to be an overview style book of those 3 pieces. So that is going to help you determine the what of your book. And then why. You should actually start with why, even though I say who, what, why. The why is your goals. What do you want this book to do for your business? How is it going to fit into your business? And then figure out what readers want from you about that topic. And then find that sweet spot to figure out where their goals meet your goals. Because if those 2 things are happening, then you're using the book in your business the way that you intend, which is exactly what you want. So once you do that foundational work, then you're going to add in, go deeper on that structure question that I talked about a second ago. Is it a deep dive or is it more of an overview style? And that will depend on how you're using the book in your business. If you're using it as sort of a top of funnel, grow your list, introduce people to you, your teaching style, your framework, whatever the case may be, start building that know, like, trust. An overview style book probably makes more sense. If you're a more seasoned business owner and you are trying to, grow maybe the speaking arm of your business, maybe you want to do more keynote addresses, something like that, maybe a deep dive into something that you do keynote addresses about would make more sense. So think about, again, what makes sense for you, your book, and your business. And then think about repurposing, because that's a big place where you can really reduce some of the overwhelm, which again, then spirals into that overthinking. You're a business owner, so you have lots and lots of content. Some of the pushback I get is, yes, but I've already said that before. And I would encourage you to remember that 1, not everybody's hearing and seeing every single thing that you say. They also, even if they somehow are seeing and hearing everything you say, which again, I would push back against that, they have not seen it or heard it packaged in this way, right? With all of the other pieces. So think about what you already have that you can repurpose into a book so that you're not starting at 0 words. And the way I would do this is to check out my book brain dump exercise. Do a brain dump, but I have a specific exercise for book writing that it's free. I will link it in the show notes, that sort of gets you to the point where you have a working table of contents. And then you can juxtapose that with your content library to see what you have to repurpose. So that, again, the point here is that you're not starting at 0 words, which helps, again, prevent the overwhelm that leads to the overthinking. So these are some practical tips for you to keep in mind. And I'm hoping that as I'm talking, you're thinking, your shoulders are starting to like relax a little bit, and you're starting to see that, yes, there's a lot of moving pieces to a book project. This is not something you're going to do in, a couple of weeks. It's not something you're going to do well in a couple of weeks. And a plan will really help guide you and prevent you from falling into that overwhelm, overthinking space where a lot of business owners end up. The way to combat that is to do some of these things that we've talked about here, create that plan, think about that foundation of your particular project, think about the content you already have, do a book brain dump, get yourself a plan. That will then help you move forward and figure out who you need to hire for your book team, who has the expertise in the areas where you're lacking. And again, you should be lacking because you don't work in book publishing. You work in whatever, in marketing, in HR, in leadership, in coaching, whatever your zone of genius is and your industry is. It's not book publishing. So no one is expecting you to know all of the things, every single detail of all of these moving pieces. So hopefully this episode is providing a little bit of a sigh of relief for you as you start to think about moving your book from idea to finished book to something that is actually working for you in your business as a marketing asset. So until next time, happy book planning.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Write, Publish, Market podcast. I know just how busy business owners and CEOs' schedules are, and I'm grateful you've taken some time out of yours to spend with me today. If you enjoyed this episode, take a quick screenshot and share it on social to let others know you're listening. Use the hashtag WritePublishMarket to spread the love.